Greetings, hello, and welcome back to the series. Thanks for tuning in. I'm ImperialJedi, this is episode number 2, and we're basically just picking up right where we last left off. Now, at the end of the last episode, we had just unlocked the first of our milestones, and what I like to do when we unlock milestones, especially early on, is let's go ahead and pause the game. That way we can collect our thoughts, make sure we're not overlooking anything, and, in this case right here, because we unlocked the first of our services, if we actually don't place those in a timely manner, people will start to complain and move out, so we're going to want to be a bit preemptive about that. Alright, so as far as the hamlet goes, we now have access to our taxes. We can now adjust the, or take out the first of our loans, and then these are the services I was talking about. So garbage collection, healthcare, and the first tier of our education. So just the elementary schools, but definitely pretty cool. Now, for us to be able to place them all down, we're going to have to go ahead and take out that loan. And then for us to be able to justify raising these taxes, we'll have to make sure we put down all those service buildings. Now, if you do a pretty good job with the coverage, you can actually get away with 12%. So we'll go ahead and start with that. We'll just keep an eye out to make sure that no one's complaining. And early on, guys, I forgot to mention this in the last episode, if you need a little bit of wiggle room with your budget, you can totally head over to your budget panel, and you can adjust with these little sliders right here. You can plus or minus your day and nighttime budgets. So I'll give you some examples here. If you're maybe taking a little bit of a break in building, or you're trying to save some money, but you happen to be producing quite a bit of water, you can decrease the budget slider, and then that'll, of course, cut production, but if you have enough to spare, no problem, and then you'll notice a boost to your budget here. I honestly don't really do too much of this in the beginning, just because the frequency of having to move them back and forth is a little bit too distracting. But there are instances, right, like the water, and then the plus of that, right, if you wanted to maybe buy another power plant, but you couldn't quite afford it, and you had maybe one zone in your city that was starting to complain about not having any power, you can do a slight boost to your electricity and get, a bit more megawatts out of your pre-existing infrastructure. So there are instances where you might maybe need to use it, so don't be afraid to try it out. Just for me, I don't really find that I use it all that often. But if you need it, the wiggle room is there. Okay, so I think we're good with that. Now, the first service we're going to start with is trash collection. And this is just kind of not only with trash collection, but just in general, what I want to do right now is not create a bottleneck on this road. And you can see we're starting to get away from having traffic only go across here with this little connection. What we want, though, is another bridge, another road. It's my intention this episode to do a bit of an expansion to our residential sector right down here. And so what we don't want is a bit of a bottleneck effect happening right here, where we have too much traffic, where everything gets gridlocked, and it kind of spills over into the next streets. That would just make, service production or service vehicles not get around too fast, and everything would just grind to a halt, so that's really bad. So we'll just give our commuters an alternate route. And if we put the garbage dump right on this, we'll probably see a lot of the garbage trucks just taking this. So because we are going to be doing an expansion to our residential zone kind of in here, I'm anticipating obviously a lot more traffic making the left onto this street, which is why we're using a wider avenue. So you can kind of see we're sticking to a more narrow road right here because you're not really having that much traffic. And because we're having stop signs and that kind of stuff over here, you really wouldn't see too many people cutting through here because it's actually not that fast of a shortcut. So in that sense, if we do a lot of smart moves with the junction controls, we can kind of force people to stay a little bit more on the avenues and off the side streets. Okay, time for a bridge. And I'm going to line this up, I think, with these two pillars. Let's kind of put that over here and over there. And we'll just take a look at the side profile, just kind of eyeball this, make sure it's nice and even. Looks pretty good to me. And then we're going to go ahead and bring this down, I think, to 10 units. Now, something I also didn't mention, if you wanted a smoother slope, or let's say you're going from a taller height, you can actually go out as far as 12 units. So if I go to 13 or 14, you kind of see how it disappears. Right back to the 12. Of course, it does affect the cost, because bridges cost more money. So we'll keep that at the 10, just for that symmetry. But, just, the option's there if you want it type of thing. Alright, so I'm happy with that for the landfill. Decent coverage, of course. And the reason why I'm putting the landfill on this side and not that side is, I may have mentioned this last episode, but I want to keep a corridor of space open around the highways, even our little in-town one right here. And there's two reasons for that. One of them is the noise pollution. kind of since we're up here, we now have access to some of our info panels. So we click on our little headphones here, or I guess earmuffs. You can kind of see, well, it wouldn't be earmuffs, what would that be? Ear protection, I guess. Earmuffs is more of a winter thing. So you can kind of see the noise barrier, right? So just like in real life, you don't want to have people too close to a highway unless you're installing some sound barriers and that kind of stuff. So just, to begin with, because we haven't unlocked that, keep some space. Obviously, don't build too close to your industrial zones. You want to steer clear of the wind production as well. Just anything that's kind of big and noisy. You don't want to be living next to that. And commercial zones, to a certain extent, just because of the extra traffic and stuff, they will create a bit of noise too. So if you are putting some in and around your residential areas, you don't want them to be too oversized. So just kind of plan ahead for that. All right, cool. And then the other reason why I want to keep some space in between, highways and roads and that kind of stuff is it gives us already a nice corridor if we wanted to maybe put some rail down here, if we wanted to upgrade the highway, if we wanted to, express and collector lanes. I think I was saying in the last episode, maybe some like bike paths, parks, like that kind of stuff. You basically already have space for it. And if you wanted to relocate buildings, you can kind of see there is a cost associated with that. So if you have to move 10 buildings, smash down a whole bunch of roads and stuff, that can be very expensive. So we're already trying to save ourselves some money in the long run by maybe keeping some spaces open. And then by that same kind of logic, when we're building some residential neighborhoods, I might maybe leave some a little bit underdeveloped, maybe have some room for some oversized parks and some high density buildings later on. But you want to be, I know I'm saying a lot right here, you want to be cautious though, because you don't want your city to be too far spread out, and you don't want to have too many open spaces, because then what you end up having to do is basically put down multiple service buildings, and that gets a little bit too expensive in the beginning. So for example, if we had one, say, really, really long street, and we had industry up here, like commercial here, and like residents down here, might maybe need a clinic, fire station at each one type of thing. So we're gonna try and keep it compact, but yeah, try and also keep it open. So kind of a battle for a lot of things here. All right, now the landfills themselves, you do want to make sure you're placing it in the right spot to begin with, because when it starts accumulating trash, you'll notice that the relocate option gets grayed out, and you'll have to then empty the facility into another one. So we either have to place down another landfill or unlock the incinerator and place one of those, which is definitely the better option. And so when you're building your city in the beginning, you should kind of keep that 7,500 milestone in mind. You don't really want to be taking too much time to get to that, because what'll end up happening is when one landfill fills up, you'll end up having to place another one, and then another one, and another one. And these cost money to run, and they take up a lot of space too. So we just want to keep things efficient. Once you get to 7,500, you'll get a little bit more breathing room. All right, on to our healthcare. Now the medical clinic, we were talking about maybe using our one-way roads here as kind of like a service delivery little road. If we wanted to, just want to make sure that we're placing them on the right side. And what I mean by that is, let's say for example, I were just to arbitrarily drop this right here without even doing too much thought. We'd only be really covering half the city. You can kind of see, because of the way the one-way roads are set up, ambulances would have to go all the way down here before they can make their one-way, before they can make their U-turn, or they have to go up here and turn left. So it's a little bit inefficient. So you can kind of see the difference from there over to here. So just kind of, be cautious. Again, you could, of course, if you want, relocate the building after, but we're going to try and save some money. So same idea if we were just maybe facing the driveway that way versus right here. So just little subtle things like that, just kind of keep an eye out for. But because we are going to be doing expansion to our residential zone, I'm actually going to drop that right down here in that open spot. And I'm anticipating this being a little bit noisy. So service buildings don't really care much for noise, and commercial, they don't really care either. So we'll put some commercial and some service buildings along that corridor. All right, last thing, our school. Now, if we want to, we could just totally place this down anywhere over top one of the old buildings or something. But I'm going to try and keep as many taxpayers as possible. So by that same logic, we'll just throw a school right down here. Close up to our residents, no problem. The noise won't bother them. And we're off one of the wider roads, so that'll help with overall coverage. Okay, now I just know from experience that if we start doing just even a little bit of building, we'll quickly run out of power. So I'm just going to go ahead and buy another power plant while we can still afford it. And it's just the wind turbine we're going to place. And this is going to be the last wind turbine we place before we start moving into coal. Not going to be the last wind turbine ever, because I like putting these down just for looky-look's sake. I think just from like screenshot point of view from like a distance or whatever, I think those look kind of nice. Up in the hills having some, and of course green energy, right? Who doesn't like that? Okay, so we're making sure that we're getting the 8 megawatts We're in the same power bubble, so that's helping with the, you know, keeping the cost down. We don't have to run a whole bunch of power lines through here. Okay. Now, with the rest of our money, I'm not going to go ahead and just buy a whole bunch of roads. I'm instead going to split them up between roads and pipes. That way we can continue to zone as we build. Great. Well, actually, pretty well done. Down to 200 credits only. So I'm going to zone just on the top part, of course, because of the noise. And we're going to put down some commercial just in here. But we're going to be aware of the fact that these are one-way roads. So similar to over here, we can't have any zoning because there's no way to get back to those roads. And we can only go up by 4 units. So that's why we're doing that kind of zoning right there. All right, that works for me. So I'll go ahead and throw it on 3 speed. And while we're accumulating some money, and I'm just going to point out, we might maybe go into the negatives here because we've just absorbed the cost of all these new service buildings and it's coming on right at once. But we are getting some new people moving in, so we might be able to offset it quickly. But don't panic, you know? Okay, so Junction Control. Now again, this is totally up to you. Like, you don't have to do this kind of stuff. I just kind of do it for funsies. So we're switching these to stop signs. I think we're going to keep this one as the traffic light, and we'll open that up to just kind of free-for-all. And my logic for this is anyone turning left will have to yield to people right here. They'll get a chance for some natural breaks. Well, not natural. Well, they'll get some breaks in traffic when the light turns red. So that'll kind of help with that. That's good right there. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, let's do a little bit more residential expansion right here. But our main goal is just to kind of get to the next milestone. Okay, pipes should be in place. Great. And then when we get to the next milestone, we'll unlock some new services. I believe we get the next of our loans, and we can start doing like districts and like that kind of stuff. Cool. So I want to eventually box, I think, this off like this. Meet up with that, and then just go across into there. So let's do little bits of building. And if we do stick to this strategy, we'll eventually get to a point where we're just swimming in money, so this will be worth it. Okay, now over here, I think we're going to add a little bit more industry just before we continue our residential expansion. Why don't we do this? Awesome. And just remember, it is our intention to move and change a whole bunch of this around, but we're just going to have to get, you know, some more milestones, some more cash, like that kind of saved up. So don't really worry about the fact that we're, you know, going over farmland, we're kind of polluting the area. Like, all of this is just temporary. We can always change a whole bunch of this around. Okay, so let's go over to there. Awesome. And if you didn't want to round off your corners, just as a... Oh, I think we're actually off by 1 unit there. We are. Yeah, go from this side. Yeah, that looks better. So if you don't want to round off your corners, what you can do instead... That's still a little bit crooked too. Fascinating. Sorry guys, let me just try and fix this really quickly here. That's interesting. Alright, don't want to be wasting too much money on this. I feel like that's the best. Yeah, okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Alright, so instead of rounding off the corner, what we can do is just maybe put a little side street here. Maybe you guys noticed I did that in the last episode too, but that just helps kind of hide that weird little kink in the corner there if you don't like that. And if you didn't want to do that rounded edge approach. Okay. So let's continue to zone. We just need a few more residents, and then I think we'll be at our next milestone. Okay. And it is my intention to actually go a little bit upward with this as well. Oh, perfect. I'm just going to go ahead and pause it. We'll just finish this little bit right here, and then we'll go over our new unlocks. Okay, so I'm just going to turn these off, and I'm just going to try free drawing a road just through here. Can I get a closer snap point? There we go. And we'll turn these back on now, just for a bit of symmetry while we're doing these two roads. That looks nice and smooth. I like that. And we'll unfortunately have to rezone that, because I didn't mean to delete all those roads, but c'est la vie. Okay. So let's now take a look at what we unlocked in our newest milestone. So we now can buy the first of our new tiles, which is awesome. And if you guys remember, we can go up to 9 total. So why don't we just go ahead and do that right now. And we do know that we were just saying we want to move the industry and stuff around. We saw just from kind of taking a little sneak peek in the last episode that there was some boat activity kind of through here. So that means there's going to be a shipping lane. So we do eventually want to get to that harbor. But objectively, if I were to look at this tile, you can kind of see like there's way too many hills. So it'll be like really, really expensive to terraform this, like almost like pointless. So I think we'll end up doing actually just buying this tile right here. That'll help us grow the city, get a lot more money, and we actually don't even unlock the harbor for a few more tiles, or a few more milestones, sorry. So by that point, we should have access to that waterway anyway. So I think our first tile that we're going to buy is this one right here. And like I was saying, we can go up to 9 total. The only catch is it just has to touch one of the previous tiles, but we can pretty much go any direction in the map here. So that's pretty awesome. And then for fun, what we can do, guys, in the next episode is, if we have enough money for it, maybe just do a redo to the highway and kind of make traffic go that direction as well. That'd be kind of fun, I think, right? Okay, now the rest of our services and stuff that we unlocked. So we've got districts and policies, which is pretty darn cool. We can do specialization for those districts, and we have access to our loans. And as far as new service buildings go, we've got fire and police. So let's do fire and police first, and then we'll talk about the districts and all that other cool stuff. All right, now the police, as long as you're keeping people like, happy, healthy, busy, and working, they won't really commit that much crime. So we can actually get away with not having 100% city coverage. So one police station right here should be more than enough for the entire city. Let's go ahead and take out the next loan here so we can afford the rest of our stuff. And this is something that's kind of sneaky. So the loan, it's only 5,000 credits paid off, but we can pay off the remainder and take that right back out to get those 5,000 credits to spend again. So a little sneaky, but that does kind of help us spend. So we'll go ahead and try that. Right, fire. Now fire, I'd say arguably if you can only afford one fire station at this point, maybe favor the industry side. They're more likely to set some fires. I think people are a little bit more responsible in their homes. But we can afford it. We're going to put down 2 fire stations. So let me drop one right here. And I actually wanted that to be 1 tile closer, but that's okay. I'm not going to bother relocating it. Just going to unzone that. I just want to be close to our little one-way network. And then we'll have this, I think, over here just on that intersection as well. Great, so that's full city coverage. Really like that a lot. And that's it for the new services. Now, as far as districts go, this is kind of cool. So the districts, you can use them for a few reasons. You can use them for cosmetic. So if you want to name some of your parts of the, name some neighborhoods in your city, you can just go ahead and snap these over the road if you want. Oops. And it's right-click to make things go away. Clean that up a little bit. It will snap to the node points. Anyway, get the idea right there. If I run the game just for a split second, this will populate right there. Perfect. You get some info on your district itself. And if you want to, you can do some specialized policies. Very few policies will actually make you money. A lot of them end up costing you quite a bit. So early on, I don't normally enact too many of them just because of the cost associated with it, but totally feel free to experiment. And you can kind of see how, parks and like that kind of stuff will affect land value. So if you're looking to do a little bit of just fun kind of research and stuff, this is kind of a cool way to do it. And of course you can change your names, like that kind of stuff. And then if you want to do some specialized zones, say you want to have some farming or some forestry or some mining, like that kind of stuff, you'll need to have a district over your industrial zone like this, and you'll have to click on your specialization tab, and you'll have to convert them over like that. And now all the buildings in this district will pop up as a forestry sector. Now what's cool is you actually don't even need that many trees around. The buildings themselves will plant a whole bunch of trees too, so it's kind of cool. But we'll leave it just as a normal one. And if you want to make it, say, farmland, you'd have to be over top of a farming area. So you can kind of see right there's another info tab view. And like I was kind of saying, it's a little bit unavoidable sometimes to be over these things. But, in the grand scheme, we can, of course, change everything. So don't fret. But I'm sure there's more, there's more farming really close by. Okay, cool. Worry about this a little bit later on. And you'll have specialization zones for your commercial as well, which like helps with tourism and that kind of stuff. All right, I think we're ready to press play again. I think so, yeah. All right, let's just do a little bit more expansion, and then I think we'll wrap up the episode. Okay, so I just want to get a bit more of this area here built. There we go. So we'll just box this off. Same issue. There we go. That looks a lot better. Now again, same idea if we wanted to. Just totally feel free to do something like that. Now we are running a little bit low on power again. So I did say that this would be the last of our wind turbines. So let's go ahead and drop down a coal power plant now. And the coal power plant, similar to why we're trying to just make sure that traffic and stuff is moving smoothly for our garbage collection, is the coal power plant itself needs to run on coal. That makes total sense, right? And if you're not producing any in your city, which you could be through a specialized mining zone, which we don't have just yet, if you don't have any of that, you'll have to have a truck come in from the district, or from the neighborhood, sorry, or the region. My goodness, I can't even speak today. You'll have a truck come in from the region, and that's going to drop off coal. So you can see we got coal for 9 weeks right here, no problem. If you've got really, really great traffic flow, it's super seamless. But if you have a lot of gridlock or a lot of bottleneck kind of thing happening, or traffic spills out onto your highway, you might have your coal truck sitting right here as you're running out of coal, and it just can't get there in time. Everybody moves out, so that could just be a bit of a problem. So just, keep an eye on that kind of stuff. There's some power for some expansion. And we're going to run a little bit of an experiment. We are going to go outward with the one-way roads like this. But I've been finding that this little spot right here, the roundabout itself, gets a bit too backed up with traffic once the city kind of really starts to grow. And I think what we're going to try here is a fun little experiment. So we do need those power lines. Let's maybe go on the inside right here. I'm going to run a small street just along like this. And my intention would be to maybe do some zoning off of this instead of the one-way roads. But more specifically, I'm going to cut off a little bit of the flow to the roundabout by adding a traffic light right here. And then that should hopefully create just, a few breaks, help with the merging, just kind of calm the pace of the roundabout down a little bit. So maybe a bit of an experiment right here. But should be kind of fun. Okay, so let's try and line some stuff up here. Like that. And it's just, these little overhead things like this, you don't really notice that it's lined up, but I promise you would notice if it wasn't lined up, if that makes any sense. So I just do a few of these. And then, we'll eventually zone these up. But guys, I think what we'll do is we'll end things here. We'll pick up in the next episode just where we were leaving off right now. And we'll continue to build this out. We'll populate it and try and get to the next milestone. But if you guys have any questions or anything, totally feel free to drop me a line. And in the next episode, we'll try and rebuild our highway interchange here, and we can do something kind of fun and unique with that. And that'll just be an attempt to hopefully get faster traffic flow through here as the city grows. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Feel free to drop me a comment, and happy building. All the best, guys.